Wednesday, March 1st, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Mantle. We have a great show in store for you today. JetBlue will return to the Barnstable Municipal Airport for a fourth season. We're going to learn more about that with Airport Manager Bud Brialt. Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce CEO Wendy Northcross is fighting to keep several rest areas open, and we'll meet a 7th grader who will share his most memorable experience growing up in Barnstable. All of this on this episode of Barnstable Today. Now let's take a look at today's top headlines. A 36-year-old Cotuit man is arrested and charged with his wife's murder. According to the Cape and Islands District Attorney's Office, Christopher Fratantonio was arrested after police were called to the couple's Cotuit home at 1:50 Tuesday morning. The victim is 35-year-old Molly Fratantonio, a special education teacher who worked at Barnstable High School. Barnstable police and state police detectives are investigating the crime. Plans for a new $6.5 million carbon treatment system at the Mar well field will go before Town Council this week. The proposal comes after the town has been purchasing water from Yarmouth at a rate of about $1.25 million a year. The project would be funded with a bond issue and would be included in the FY18 operating budget. Town Council meets this Thursday at 7 in the Town Hall hearing room. The Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission will discuss a controversial proposal to build a $25 million condo complex near the Hyannis Harbor. Shoestring Properties hopes to build the 33-unit complex where the former Dockside restaurant was located on School Street. The Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission meets tonight at 6:30 in the Selectmen's Conference Room. The Barnstable School Committee will continue discussions on class rank at Barnstable High School this week. Principal Patrick Clark has suggested doing away with class rank. Clark says class rank is used less and less by colleges and universities and can often be a source of stress for students. Also on the agenda is an update on the FY18 budget and a presentation by the Barnstable Youth Commission. The school committee meets at 7 tonight in the Town Hall hearing room. Up next, we're going to chat with Airport Manager Bud Brialt. So, Bud, this is very exciting. This is going to be JetBlue's 4th season coming to Hyannis and having a route to JFK Airport in New York.
Right.
It's been very successful. You must be thrilled that they're coming back for a 4th season.
We're very happy. You always worry about it when they're doing their annual schedules, whether they're going to come back or not, when it's a seasonal type operation. If it was year-round, you wouldn't worry about it that much, but we're not there yet. And we've been working towards that for a number of years, as you say, for our 4th season. Our numbers are pretty good during the season. Shoulder seasons were a little bit off last year in JetBlue's mind, and to us it was wonderful. But JetBlue, the numbers didn't match what their expectations were, so they've reduced it from mid-May now till mid-June as a start date, June 15th, and same thing on the other end in September. Last year they went to Columbus Day, and this year they'll only be going through September 24th.
And that was mainly because they didn't have as many people taking advantage of those flights in that shoulder season. So they're really going to tighten it up and focus on their peak season, so to speak. How many people were getting on the planes, and how many people are taking advantage of this route on average?
During the season, on average, I'd say somewhere between 80 and 95% capacity. There were days when they were completely booked. And so that's a very good number. Those were good numbers. Off-season, or the shoulder seasons, weren't quite so good. I think part of it may be because the flights weren't there. They were only flying, I think, 4 times a week earlier season and 2 times a week at the end. So it's really not dependable to people who are looking for good, consistent air service to JFK.
Right. Do you think a lot of people locally are taking advantage of this flight path? I would think a lot of people want to head to New York City, and how convenient. You don't even have to travel to Boston. Do you see a lot of locals taking advantage of it?
We see some. I think a lot of it is coming from New York and going back. But I think that there's also a lot of people here on the Cape that don't even know that it's here. For instance, last year when we did one of our big functions at the airport, there were so many people that said, I didn't know JetBlue was here. And I said, you know, we've been doing this for 3 years. Where have you been? And so the word, despite all of our publicity and talk about it and the planes flying in and out, people just don't know about the service.
Yeah.
So I think if they did know about it, if it was consistent, if it was year-round, then I think they would come.
And they offer a pretty affordable, I mean, fares vary, of course, but they really do offer a pretty affordable direct route right to New York from Hyannis, I don't think you could get more convenient than that.
40, 45 minutes to New York.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You don't have to drive. You don't have to go over the bridge. You don't have to worry about New York
You
traffic.
don't have to get on a train.
That's right. It's wonderful.
And I love it too because Barnstable is such a great airport. It's so convenient. It's so easy. The parking lot is fabulous. Everything is just kind of smaller, which is really nice because you don't have to trek for miles to get to the gate you're looking for.
We try to stay in tune with the needs of the local people and the traveling public to try to give them a good experience, and I think we do. And with Centerville Pie reopening in April, I hope this year, that'll improve it tremendously. Because when Centerville Pie is there, it's like a part of being part of the family, if you will. And they provide a wonderful service.
A little bit of a hub. I love Centerville Pie. Who doesn't love Centerville Pie? It is great to have them there. So glad to hear that they're also coming back this season. That's wonderful news. Any other news at the airport?
No, I just wanted to say one more thing about JetBlue is that traditionally in other airports where they've been doing a seasonal service, they slowly increase that seasonal service as I guess people learn about the business and so forth. And the problem I think we're seeing not only is a combination of the slow increase plus the fact that there's a nationwide pilot shortage, and JetBlue nationally and internationally is increasing their routes. And so if they haven't increased the size of their fleet, then they have to do a better job of managing the aircraft that they have. So that's probably also affecting what's going on here in Hyannis. So
interesting.
That's one of the reasons I'm really thankful that they're indeed coming back.
Right.
Okay. And then other things at the airport, as you probably remember, we reported on Retrix has started up their service. We're hoping to see that expand even more. We're waiting for a third air carrier to start hopefully this spring to offer service between New Bedford here and Nantucket. And then other things are in the works, but we don't really want to talk about that yet.
Yeah, exciting. Oh, I can't wait. That sounds interesting.
We have a lot of things in the works, so to speak. And also this year you'll see a lot of new construction activity going on. Starting next week, as a matter of fact, we'll begin phase 1 of a 8 or 9 phase project to completely rehabilitate runway 1533. So a good part of the year it will be either in reduced capabilities or actually completely shut down while we're doing the repaving. It's well over 20 years. The pavement is really in a deteriorating condition, and so we need to do it. And unfortunately, and because of the construction season here, it has to happen during the summer. So during part of the summer, we'll be completely closed on that one runway. And in order to speed it up, during one of the phases where both runways are affected, we'll be running 24 hours a day of construction work.
Wow.
And that's hopefully for about 1 week only. And then during the latter phase, when we're doing a major portion of the runway, we'll be running 6 double shifts, 16 hours a day, working to try to get this thing done within the season and limit the impact on aviation.
Wonderful. Well, sounds like a great plan. Glad to see there are ways that you can try and make it work, even though it'll be a little bit tighter or a little bit tougher to schedule things. But you got to take care of those runways.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Well, thank you for stopping by today. I really appreciate it. And again, congratulations. JetBlue is coming back for its 4th season. We're very excited for you.
Thank you, Sarah.
My guest today, Airport Manager Bud Briel. Some local rest stations may not be able to stay open this summer. To learn more, we chat with Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce CEO Wendy Northcross. Wendy, the rest areas on Cape Cod, very important for tourism, of course, in your mind. I want to talk to you a little bit about some progressive, the county has actually funded those rest areas for some time. They are looking not to fund those rest areas anymore. Where do we stand on this issue?
Well, actually, there's a whole variety of rest areas that are owned by the state, and in some cases were being maintained through county funds. In some cases were being maintained through state money, and because the county is having a budget crisis and the state is having a budget crisis, funds are being pulled for the maintenance, primarily the maintenance of bathrooms in the county's case, but we are pretty concerned about the status or the potential status of running visitor centers, especially in the high season this summer. So we've been trying to come up with some solutions to see if we can keep some of these places open.
Now, Wendy, when you say maintenance, do you mean the maintenance of the facility itself, or do you mean the cleaning, staffing, and keeping those filled with items like toilet paper, paper towels, cleaning out the trash cans? Which maintenance are we referring to specifically?
Right. Well, pretty simply, so there's 3 state-owned buildings that have toilet facilities, and they have staff. So in the case of the Sagamore Bridge Visitor Center, that's right at the base of the Sagamore Bridge, highly visible from Route 6 as you're going across the Sagamore Bridge. It's right over there by Friendly's and the Dunkin' Donuts franchise. And that center was built by the State Department of Transportation a few years back. There's another, we call it the Route 25 Visitor Center. It's actually 3 miles before you get to the Bourne Bridge. It's off the big rest area that goes up the hill there next to a big cranberry bog. That is a state-owned building. That has been staffed by Cape Cod Chamber staff people that are supported through state grants. And the state will maintain both of those 2, we call them the Bridge Visitor Centers. The state will actually go in and do the maintenance as well. So there's been state grants to help pay for the staffing, and then the state goes in and maintains the bathrooms. Then the third center that the county has been involved with, that is right on actually it's between exits 6 and 7 on the Mid-Cape Highway, headed eastbound. There's a Korean Memorial War flag pole there, and a kind of a structure that's a wooden structure that's an information center that's run by the Yarmouth Chamber of Commerce. But the brick building that's there that just houses bathrooms, that is a state-owned building, but the county of Barnstable for, probably the last 20 years or so has been paying their own staff to go up and do maintenance on that building. So it's primarily cleaning bathrooms, kind of keep the grounds around the buildings picked up and cleaned, and whatever supplies are needed. So toilet paper, hand towels, soap, whatever. That's the primary issue at hand. What's happened this year is that there's budget cuts across the board that are making us think that none of these centers will be open this summer.
Wow. And what would that mean for tourism in our case? Do a lot of people, are they using these facilities to stop and get information about the area? I mean, I'm sure that would probably be a huge concern for tourism officials like yourself.
Well, the bottom line here, Sarah, is that it's whether or not we're putting out the welcome mat and that we're warm and welcoming, and it's a safety issue. So on the federally funded highways or federally supported highways, there's very strict rules about what you can or cannot do in these visitor centers. You can't have retail operations. There's limited access highways, have very strict rules. So there's not a lot of things that we can do to raise money to offset the cost of operating these things, which is a struggle. But these are safety amenities as much as anything now. If people are tired, they need to get off the roadway. If they're uncomfortable because they've been in traffic that's been backed up in front of the bridge and they need to go to use the restroom, that's really become the primary role of these facilities. And by the way, while they're there, they can get some great information on what to do and see while they're in the region. Now, we're very realistic. A lot of people, they're walking around with their cell phones now, especially our domestic visitor, who's very well informed by whatever the app or website is that they've pulled up on their cell phone. But what we have found, too, is that huge interest in the international visitor using these centers because they might have language barriers they're trying to overcome, and they really do want to get information because they're not burning up the hours and minutes on their cell phone while they're in, during international travel. So we found a huge interest from international guests using these facilities. So it's a matter of, do we put the welcome mat out and how much safety and comfort do we provide to the traveling public?
And I do hear what you're saying about that welcome mat, because as many times as I've gone to Vermont, my entire family gets excited about the rest areas in Vermont. Have you been to them?
They're beautiful.
They're beautiful. They have tea, hot cocoa, coffee. So they are really, that is very important there for that public service. And I can see what you're saying here is you want to make sure guests feel welcome, that they have facilities to use. And it's very important, like you said, in many cases for safety reasons, to be able to get off the road.
Exactly.
What steps are we taking now, and how can we push to have those facilities funded?
Well, we're trying to get some of the tourism marketing funds restored. There was grant money to operate visitor centers, state-owned buildings, not every visitor center in the Commonwealth, but the ones that Mass DOT owns. There was a grant to keep those open for the high season, not year-round. I mean, we've even restricted going backwards from being open year-round. But that grant got wiped out. We're trying to restore some of the grant funding. We've asked the state legislature, members from the Cape and all across the state, actually, to work on a supplemental budget that might get us open before summer. We're working with actually the private sector to see if we can get some bids for cleaning services. And, can we raise some funds near term to keep one or two of these centers open for the high season? And then, of course, we're sitting down and we're having a conversation with Mass DOT. Perhaps on these 3 visitor centers, maybe the most trafficked ones get used, consistently. They stay open and clean, and we shut one of the others down. Just make some hard decisions here. So there's 3 tacks that we're trying to take. Now, Barnstable County has agreed to continue to clean the bathrooms from the Route 6, Exit 6 and 7 facility there by the Korean War Memorial. They will continue to maintain from April through to June 30th, but that's when their fiscal year ends. And after that, they can't promise that there'll be funding for that. But I do believe the state has a role to play here. That's a state-owned building, and so we're pursuing some face-to-face meetings with the state. We've already had some phone conversations, but we need to sit down and really kind of hatch a final plan for this summer. But beyond that, we really do need to have a long-term plan for these facilities.
Yeah, very important there to keep those going, like you said, the long term, not summer by summer. Well, We really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us about this issue, and look forward to hearing about the progress in the future, of course.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks so much, Wendy. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye. My guest today, Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce CEO Wendy Northcross. Now I want to introduce a budding writer and 7th grader, Nolan Turner. He's going to share his most memorable experience growing up in Barnstable. We have with us today Nolan Turner. He is a 7th grader at Barnstable Intermediate School. Nolan, the other day I was on Facebook and I was cruising through, checking everything out, and Barnstable Little League posted an essay that you wrote about your time with Barnstable Little League. Why did you write this essay?
I wrote for my class with Mr. Carlin, and I just have a connection with this field, so I thought it was the right place to write.
It's sort of a tradition in your family, right?
Yeah.
How many siblings do you have?
2.
2? Are they both boys? You have
Yeah.
both brothers?
Yep.
So 3 boys in your family.
Yep.
And everybody, are you the youngest?
Yep.
And then everybody in your family has played Little League, right? And so you're the youngest. You watched your brothers grow up and play on the Russo fields. How did that feel to you to watch your older brothers play?
Well, I've always, watching them play, I've always wanted to, when I was their age, I wanted to play on those fields too, so.
Yeah, kind of looked up to them?
Yeah.
Wanted to do it. And, it's so exciting too, because there's so many milestones that you hit when you play Barnstable Little League. So you start out, I think, what is the youngest league? Is that the farm league?
Yeah, I think it's, yeah, farm. I don't know the age groups though.
Yeah. But then it grows up and you make it to minors. And that's when you get fun team names, right?
Yeah.
You get to be like the Red Sox or, whoever. And then you finally make it, you can get drafted to the majors. Did you get drafted to the majors?
Yeah.
What was that feeling like when you got drafted?
I was kind of excited because I finally got to play on the field that I watched my brothers play on.
Yeah, the nice fields,
Yeah.
right? Do you remember, I don't know how long, do you know how long those, I'm putting you on the spot here because you may not know, but do you know how long those fields have been there? The nice fields? No?
No.
For a little while. You got to watch your brothers play
Yeah.
there. So it was like a really big step to get to play there. And now, have you seen the new field?
Yes,
with
I have.
the mini Fenway, they're calling it? What do you think of that?
It's pretty cool. I mean, I'm not going to be able to play on it because it's for the little kids, but when I was their age, I had a tournament in Mini Fenway, so it's kind of cool that there's one near the fields.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
I love it. I think it might get a lot of other kids involved in baseball and excited to go play
Yeah.
there. So if I can, would you mind reading your essay for us?
Sure.
We'd love to hear it.
Many students have a place where they can relax and unwind. So as people may enjoy the outdoors, others may prefer the indoors. Ever since I was a little boy, my place was to relax and unwind has always been the baseball diamond of LaRusso Field. From my house in Centerville, I take a 3-minute drive to my special place. These fields belong to the town of Barnstable, right behind the skate park and the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. There are 2 fields. These fields are called Field 1 and Field 2. The Field 1 is my favorite. I'm not sure why I like Field 1 better, but I think it's because it's the original field, and that's where I watched my 2 other older brothers play when they were just 10 years old. One of many reasons why I love this place so much is because it's where I picked up my first bat, my first glove, it's where I got my first hit, and it's where I threw my first baseball. I remember I would always go to the fields with my family ever since I was a little boy. I remember my grandfather would always tell me to try and hit it in certain places, and I would try. But still today, as I am ending my last year at these fields, I still hear my grandfather telling me where to hit the ball. My special place is so relaxing because it's where I can be myself. When I am at these fields, I get to do what I love to do most, play baseball. These fields are basically where I grew up and met some of my best friends. Another thing that is so great about these fields is that I can go there to relieve any stress or pain I'm feeling. In conclusion, this place is where I want to stay forever. These fields taught me the game I love, and if I ever need to relax or unwind, this would be my place. And that's why I think LaRusso Field is the most special, relaxing place in the world.
That is so awesome. It gives me chills listening to you read it. I just think you must have gotten an excellent grade on this. Did Mr. Carlin give you a good grade? I bet he did. So do you encourage other kids younger than you to go out and participate in Little League?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think you take away from that experience the most?
You get to play baseball, and it's a lot of fun. You meet some of your best friends, and it's kind of just all together. It's an amazing experience.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today, reading your essay for us. Really excellent essay. Love it, and tradition here in Barnstable that will continue for many years. Thank you so much, Nolan. Our guest today, of course, Nolan Turner, a 7th grader at Barnstable Intermediate School. Man, that Nolan is pretty adorable. And I just want a big shout out. Thank you so much, Nolan, for coming in and joining us. Well, now let's find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar. You can get individual tech support at the Barnstable Senior Center. The Cotuit Library offers the free program and will be on hand to answer your questions regarding computer issues, laptops, tablets, and iPhones. You should bring your device with you to class if possible. The next session will be held Tuesday, March 7th at 1:30. Cape Cod Beer will continue its free First Fridays concert series this Friday, March 3rd. The featured performer will be Terry Brennan. The music begins at 5 and wraps up at 8. Pizza and a cash bar will be available. Now let's get a look at this week's board, committee, and commission schedule. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to be back tomorrow with another great show for you. Tomorrow we will chat with Town Manager Mark Ells. We'll get a preview of this week's Town Council meeting with Town Council President Eric Steinhelber, and we'll chat with State Representative Tim Whalen. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.